भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जायमुदीरये शृण्वतं स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तनः हृदन्तस्थ हि अभद्राणि विदुनोति श्रीशतम् नष्टप्रायसु भद्रेषु नित्यं भगवत सेवया भगवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणाम्। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 27, verse 2 and 3. Verse 2. Saraja Mahishim Rajan Susnatam Ruchirananam Prita Swastyayanam Triptam Avyanandad Upagatam. Synonyms: Saha, he; Raja, the king; Mahishim, the queen; Rajan, O king; Susnatam, nicely bathed; Ruchira, Ananam, attractive fish; Krita Swasti Ayanam, dressed with auspicious garments and ornaments; Triptam, satisfied; Avyanandat, he welcomed; Upagatam, approached. Translation and purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The queen took her bath and dressed herself nicely with all auspicious garments and ornaments. After taking food and becoming completely satisfied, she returned to the king. Upon seeing her beautifully decorated, attractive fish, the king welcomed her with all devotion. Purport: a woman is generally accustomed to dress herself nicely with fine garments and decorative ornaments. She may even sometimes wear flowers in her hair. Women especially dress themselves up in the evening because the husband comes home in the evening after working hard all day. It is the duty of the wife to dress herself up very nicely so that when her husband returns home, he becomes attracted by her dress and cleanliness and thus becomes satisfied. In other words, the wife is the inspiration of all good intelligence. Upon seeing one's wife dressed nicely, one can think very soberly about family business. When a person is too anxious about family affairs, he cannot discharge his family duties nicely. A wife is therefore supposed to be an inspiration and should keep the husband's intelligence in good order so that they can combinedly prosecute the affairs of family life without impediment. Text 3. तयोपगुधः परिरब्धकन्धरो रहो अनुमन्त्रेत् अपकृष्टचेतनः न कालरम्भो बुबुधे दुरत्ययां दिवानिशेति प्रमदा परिग्रहः. Synonyms: Taya, by the queen; Upagudhaha, was embraced; Parirabdha, embraced; Kandharaha, shoulders; Raha, in a solitary place; Anumantre, by joking words; Apakrishta Chetanaha, having degraded consciousness; Na, not; Kalaramaha, the passing of time; Bubudhe, was aware of; Duratyayam, impossible to overcome; Diva, day; Nisha, night; Iti, thus; Pramada, by the woman; Parigraha, captivated. Translation and purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Queen Puranjani embraced the king, and the king also responded by embracing her shoulders. In this way, in a solitary place, they enjoyed joking words. Thus, King Puranjana became very much captivated by his beautiful wife and deviated from his good sense. He forgot that the passing of days and nights meant that his span of life was being reduced without profit. Purport: the word pramada in this verse is very significant. A beautiful wife is certainly enlivening to her husband, but at the same time is the cause of degradation. The word pramada means enlivening as well as maddening. Generally, a householder does not take the passing of days and nights very seriously. A person in ignorance takes it as the usual course that days come and after the days, the nights come. This is the law of material nature. But a man in ignorance does not know that when the sun rises early in the morning, it begins to take away the balance of his life. Thus, day after day, the span of one's life is reduced. And forgetting the duty of human life, the foolish man simply remains in the company of his wife and enjoys her in a secluded place. Such a condition is called apakrishta chetana or degraded consciousness. Human consciousness should be used for elevation to Krishna consciousness. But when a person is too much attracted to his wife and family affairs, he does not take Krishna consciousness very seriously. He thus becomes degraded, not knowing that he cannot buy back even a second of his life in return for millions of dollars. The greatest loss the greatest loss in life is passing time without understanding Krishna. Every moment of our lives should be utilized properly, and the proper use of life is to increase devotional service to the Lord. Without devotional service to the Lord, the activities of life become simply a waste of time. Srama evahi kevalam. Simply by becoming dutiful, we do not make any profit in life, as confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, Verse 8. धर्मश्रवणस्थिता पुंसां विश्वक्षेना कथाश्रयः नोत्पादयत्यधिरतिं श्रम एव हि केवलम्. If after performing one's occupational duty very perfectly, one does not make progress in Krishna consciousness, it should be understood that he has simply wasted his time in valueless labor. End of purport. नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनेति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna, everyone. I'm seeking blessings from all assembled Vaishnavas, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to read Srimad Bhagavatam today morning to purify myself. I'll summarize both the verses. I took notes from a class given by my Guru Maharaj. So this is a continuation of history of King Puranjana, an allegorical story told by Narad Muni to the king Prachinavarhi, which illustrates the way that the material nature, our body, environment conditions us, and the way we get entangled in that material activities. Through these illustrations, Narada Muni is expert in enlivening the devotees, enlivening the fallen souls to take up to devotional service, because in contrast with the material activities. So in the first, second verse, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada describes, it is the duty of the wife to dress herself up very nicely so that when her husband returns home, he becomes attracted by her dress and cleanliness and thus becomes satisfied. In other words, the wife is the inspiration of all good intelligence. Upon seeing one's wife dressed nicely, one can think very soberly about family business. When a person is too anxious about family affairs, he cannot discharge his family duties nicely. A wife is therefore supposed to be an inspiration and should keep the husband's intelligence in good orders so that they can combinedly prosecute the affairs of family life without impediment. So we can understand from this purport the importance and role of a woman in family life. Like we can see the importance of a grihastha ashrama here. So there is a difference between grihastha and grihamedi. Grihastha we say like ashrama where we can at the same time we can engage in our engage in family business and also execute Krishna consciousness or practice Krishna consciousness. So there is a difference between grihastha and grihamedi. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 9, verse 45. It says, Yan Maithunadi Grihamedi Sukham hi Tucham. That means sex life is compared to the rubbing of two hands to relieve on each. Grihamedis, the so-called grihasthas, who have no spiritual knowledge, think that this teaching is the greatest platform of happiness, although actually it is a source of distress. The kripanas, the fools, who are just the opposite of brahmanas, are not satisfied by repeated senses enjoyment. Those who are dhira, however, who are sober and who tolerate this teaching, are not subject to the sufferings of fools and rascals. So, ideal grihastha life. What is ideal grihastha life? Ideal grihastha life is when husband and wife come together, practice bhakti, keeps Krishna at center always. My Guru Maharaj, in many of his lectures, he always says, like, get married, have Krishna conscious children. He never says anything bad about marriage because he says, like, in Kali Yuga, it's very difficult to remain a sannyasi. So, it's always good to practice bhakti while remaining in grihastha life instead of showcasing false renunciation. Then we see so the woman should always inspire, like it's not like material inspiration, but woman can inspire her husband spiritually. Like if woman should practice bhakti in a very sincere way, even the husband even the husband gets inspired from her. So women should always inspire to use so the husband can use his good intelligence. So you see in text 3, so we're seeing here that King Puranjana came back home, greeting his wife, and he's enjoying the household life. In this way, life is passing, and living entities are engaged in their little material happiness, and gradually they know this before their lifespan decreases. As the sun rises and passes, our lifespan also decreases. Everyone is given a certain lifespan to live here in a particular body. Every time our heart beats, we are a bit closer to leave this body. So we have to use every moment in Krishna's service. We see the examples of Parikshit Maharaj Khatwanga. So Parikshit Maharaj, as soon as he came to know he has 7 days left to leave the body, he utilizes day and night in hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. And of course, after that, he was able to achieve lotus feet of Krishna. Similarly, Maharaj Khatwanga, he fought for the demigods, and then the demigods were very happy with him, asked him to ask for anything in the material world. The very first question he asked was, how much time I have to live? And they said, 1 moment. So he stopped everything immediately and absorbed himself in Krishna consciousness. So, Srimad Bhagavatam reading is the most important in practicing Krishna consciousness. We can't say for how long we'll be in this planet. Even in animal birth, one can enjoy this material happiness. The dogs, we see the dogs and cats, even they're enjoying. But that's not the goal of human form of life. After many, many births, we don't know even after how many births we get this human form of life. So we have to take the the most advantage of this human form of life, because we don't know in next life what is going to, like, in what life material nature is going to throw us. So we should not waste this human form of life. So Lord Chaitanya, he has given a process so everyone can practice. He says, like, Jiva Jago, Gaurachand Bole. We have to take this, so we have this opportunity to become Krishna consciousness and achieve the real happiness. So in Kali Yuga, we have so many obstacles. So it's important to change our consciousness, beginning with chanting the holy name, associating with devotees, reading Srimad Bhagavatam, doing devotional service. You see, like, if we start practicing bhakti, wearing kantimala, tilak, eating only Krishna Prasad, people start asking questions, right? They say, what's wrong with you? Do you become old? Because specifically in India, the concept is bhakti is for old people. So, and Guru Maharaj is giving one example that it was a real thing actually. So once before the Gurukul, a 12-year-old boy, he saved his head, put a sikha, kanthimala, and he was sent to this Bhakti Vinoda Institute started by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur to preserve the teachings of his father, Bhakti Vinod Thakura, and later, but that school somehow later converted to a public school. So when that 12-year-old boy went to that school with all this Vaishnava attire, he was chastised by the teachers like anything. Like they said, you are ruining the reputation of the school, country, etc., etc. So the school is Bhakti Vinod Institute, built to preserve the teachings of Bhakti Vinod Thakur, but in due course of time, it was managed by karmi teachers, and they forget the real value of that school. The school, even that was built at the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and this kind of criticism is happening there. So, what to speak about other institutes, which are really material, like material institutes. So sometimes we think to practice Krishna consciousness, we have to give up this, we have to give up that. That actually, if we practice, we gradually get that transcendental bliss that we lose our taste for the material stuff. Like, for example, prasadam. Once we taste prasadam, do we have any desire to go to the restaurants and eat there the food cooked there? No, because we'll get something higher taste. So we lose our taste for the material stuff. It actually goes no effort needed to give up anything. By the mercy of Mahaprabhu, material happiness becomes so insignificant when because of the Lord's mercy, the material happiness becomes so insignificant, right? So when we engage in Krishna's service, the service itself is so blissful. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada is saying, the foolish man simply remains in the company of his wife and enjoys her in a secluded place. Such a condition is called apakrishta chetana, or degraded consciousness. Human consciousness should be used for elevation to Krishna consciousness. But when a person is too much attracted to his wife and family affairs, he does not take Krishna consciousness very seriously. He thus becomes degraded, not knowing that he cannot buy back even a second of his life in return for millions of dollars. So the greatest loss in life is passing time without understanding Krishna. Sometimes we think losing money, losing job, losing family members is the greatest loss. But here Srimad Bhagavatam is saying greatest loss in life is passing time without understanding Krishna. Every moment of our lives should be utilized properly, and the proper use of life is to increase devotional service to the Lord. So Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, Verse 8 says, Dharma sanusthita pumsam vishwakshena kathashreya notpadayed yadiratim shama evahi kevalam. This verse is quoted in this Text 3. So, which means the occupational activities a man performs according to his own position are only so much unless labor if they do not provoke attraction for the message of the personality of Godhead. Our duty is to fulfill the spirit soul's need. Beautiful analogy is given in that verse that simply by cleansing the cage of the bird, one does not satisfy the bird. One must actually know the needs of the bird himself. The need of the spirit soul is that he wants to get out of the limited sphere of material bondage and fulfill his desire for complete freedom. He wants to get out of the covered walls of the greater universe. He wants to see the free light and the spirit. That complete freedom is achieved when he meets the complete spirit, the personality of Godhead. There is a dormant affection for God within everyone. Spiritual existence is manifested through the gross body and mind in the form of perverted affection for gross and subtle matter. Therefore, we have to engage ourselves in occupational engagements that will evoke our divine consciousness. This is possible only by hearing and chanting the divine activities of the Supreme Lord. And any occupational activity which does not help one to achieve attachment for hearing and chanting the transcendental message of Godhead is said herein to be simply a waste of time. That's what Shramayeva Hi Kevalam means. With that, I'd like to stop here. Thank you again for